Donald Trump is once again publicly lashing out in a total meltdown against both Fox News and its sister publication, the conservative Wall Street Journal, because they just dropped a brutal poll on Trump that he doesn't like. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, it's always fun when Donald Trump takes shots at Fox News for petty partisan reasons, which is basically the only reason he ever does anything. And this is not the first time this has happened, but it's worth noting every time, given that Fox is effectively the propaganda arm of the Republican Party and the biggest player in mainstream media. A MAGA civil war is good for America, even when it's Trump versus Fox. We'll take a look here, though. As Mediaite reports, MAGA hates Fox News. Trump lashes out at Murdoch media empire in Truth Social tirade. Trump lashed out at Rupert Murdoch's conservative media empire in a Thursday morning Truth Social tirade that saw him declare that MAGA hates Fox News. And there are two tweets, two truths in particular. So the first one says, "The crooked Fox News polls got the election wrong. I won by much more than they said I would, and they've been biased against me for years. They are always wrong and negative. It's why MAGA hates Fox News, even though their anchors are great. This has gone on for years, but they never change the incompetent polling company that does their work. Now, a new Fox News poll comes out this morning giving me little more than 50% at the border, and yet the border is miraculously perfect. Nobody was able to come in last month. 60,000 people came in with Sleepy Joe in the same month last year. I hate fake pollsters, one of the worst, but Fox will never change their discredited pollster." The last time Trump lashed out at Fox, from what I remember, we did a video about this, he indicated that he might have the DOJ investigate Fox News because he doesn't like their pollster. Remember, Trump is engaging in lawfare as we speak against pollsters he doesn't like Ann Seltzer and the Des Moines Register. Okay. Then in a follow-up post, he lashed out at the Wall Street Journal, Fox News' sister publication. "The Wall Street Journal has no idea what my thoughts are concerning Iran." Very petulant. Classic Trump. We'll continue. Trump has a long, complicated history with both Fox, which has long been reliably pro-Trump, and the Journal, which has praised elements of Trump's agenda and denounced others. Earlier this year, Trump hosted Murdoch himself in the Oval Office, where he referred to the media mogul as legendary and one of the most talented people in the world, while also musing that he would need to talk to Murdoch about the Journal's coverage of his administration. Again, this is what happens when you have a man who's so openly censorious, right, that he can't handle any sort of dissent or inconvenient facts, even if they come from a network that is otherwise very pro-Trump. I mean, again, we'll take a look at this poll, but as a reminder, remember, Fox had to pay the single biggest defamation settlement in the history of American jurisprudence, in the history of American law, to Dominion Voting Systems because Fox signal boosted Trump's lies about the 2020 election. $787 million. You would think Trump would be like, damn, that's like they were willing to sell that bullshit, right? They were willing to fork over, $750 million, because they were that loyal to me. But it doesn't matter to Trump. It doesn't matter if you pay $787 million telling verifiable lies or signal boosting verifiable lies in Trump's favor. If you deviate from Trump at any point later in the timeline, none of that matters. It's so funny. So let's look at the poll that has Trump so exercised. Poll position, where Trump stands in the eyes of Americans 5 months into his second presidency. Trump highlights highest ever approval, despite most recent national polls suggesting otherwise. Trump touted his poll numbers while speaking with reporters on the White House lawn Wednesday. Quote, "My approval rating is the highest it's ever been," Trump declared, pointing to a newly released national survey. But 5 months into his second tour of duty in the White House, Trump's approval ratings remain underwater in most, but not all, of the latest national polls conducted over the past 3 weeks. An average of the most recent surveys suggests that Trump's approval rating stands in the upper 40s, with his disapproval hovering slightly above 50%. Trump has aggressively asserted executive authority in his second term, overturning long-standing government policy and aiming to make major cuts in the federal workforce through an avalanche of sweeping and controversial executive orders and actions, some aimed at addressing grievances he has held since his first term. That's very generous of them to note that, to add that very important caveat. And Trump, true to form, has been continuously grabbing headlines, including the last 2 weeks for sending National Guard troops and U.S. Marines into Los Angeles in an effort to quell protests over ICE detentions and deportations of illegal migrants, over his mulling of the U.S. joining Israel and attacking Iran's nuclear program. Trump started his second administration with poll numbers in positive territory, but his poll numbers started to slide soon after his late January inauguration. Trump's approval ratings sank underwater by early March and have remained in negative territory ever since in most national surveys. Former President Biden, whose single term in the White House is sandwiched by Trump's 2 terms, enjoyed positive approval ratings in June 2021, 5 months into his tenure. Indeed, President Biden, at his peak, was much more higher, substantially more popular than Donald Trump has ever been at any point in either presidency. But let's look at the Fox poll in particular, okay? Fox News poll. Economic pessimism abates slightly as voters reflect on the economy. A majority opposes Trump's budget plan, including about 1/4 of Republicans. Voters are feeling a bit better about the economy, yet overall sentiment remains negative. Since the start of Trump's second term, positive ratings of the economy have inched up from 21% in March to 28% in April to 31% in the latest Fox News survey, which is about where things stood at the end of the Biden administration in January. And by the way, that's a hell of a thing to note, given that Trump has enjoyed a massive, but totally unjustified, but massive perception advantage with respect to the economy. So the fact that he's barely squeaking Biden numbers is actually an indictment of him and his administration, given the colossal advantage in perception that he's enjoyed for years. During the previous 4 years, that number was higher than the current rating only once, when it hit 32% in June 2024. For reference, at the end of the first Trump administration, 33% gave economic conditions positive marks, but that had been as high as 55% in January 2020. Currently, 62% say their family is getting ahead or holding steady financially, up 5 points since January. 36% say that they're falling behind is the lowest in 4 years. Still, economic sentiment is mostly gloomy. 84% are extremely or very concerned about inflation. 68% score conditions as only fair or poor, and 55% feel pessimistic about the economy. Democrats, independents, women, and voters without a college degree are among those most likely to say the economy is in bad shape, while Republicans, men, and college graduates are among most likely to rate it as better. Quote, during the Biden years, Republicans and independents were overwhelmingly negative about the economy, while Democrats were slightly less so, said Republican pollster Darren Shaw, who helps run the Fox News survey with Democrat Chris Anderson. Quote, now with Trump as president, Democrats think the sky is falling, while Republicans see ray of sunlight. By a 21-point margin, voters opposed the federal budget legislation passed by the House of Representatives that Trump calls the one big beautiful bill. 38% favor versus 59% oppose, and that is a staggering disparity. About half think the bill would hurt their family, 49%, while 1/4 think it would help, 23%, and another quarter don't think it would make a difference at all, 26%. 60% feel that they have a good understanding of what's in the OBBB, and while those voters are more likely to favor the legislation than those who are unfamiliar with it, more still think it would hurt rather than help their family, 45% versus 34%. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Views of the legislation are highly partisan, with Republicans favoring it 73% and with Republicans favoring it 73% and Democrats and independents at 89 and 73% opposed. And this is where I think that first part of the sentence is kind of bullshit. Views of the legislation are highly partisan. Well, if that were the case, then you would think that independents would be split on at 50-50. Republicans would love it, Democrats would hate it, independents, who are neither Republican or Democrat, would be 50-50. But the fact that the overwhelming majority, a supermajority, disfavor that legislation, I'm sorry, guys. This is just objective proof that this thing is objectively unpopular and not on partisan lines. Now, you can still say that the bill is great, but the perception of it is just objectively terrible for Trump and the Republicans, and that's their fault. Overall, 57% think tariffs hurt the economy, the highest ever recorded in Fox News surveys, and double the number who think tariffs help. Yikes. While a majority, 53%, approve of Trump's handling of border security, 46% disapprove, Trump is otherwise receiving negative marks on the issues. Immigration, 46% approve, 53% disapprove. Okay, so again, they're separating border security from immigration. And foreign policy, 42% approve versus 57% disapprove. That's terrible. His worst ratings are on the economy, 40 to 58%, so 58% disapproval, and inflation, 34 to 64%, 64% disapproval. Yikes, where he's underwater by a whopping 30 points. Trump's overall approval stands at 46%, while 54% disapprove. That's up a couple of ticks from 44 to 45% in April. His highest approval, 49%, came in March 2025 and April 2020. Men under the age of 45 and the white men without a college degree are among those giving Trump his best marks. 7 in 10 Republicans consider themselves part of the MAGA movement, and fully 98% of them approve. About 90% of Democrats disapprove of the job Trump is doing generally and on specific issues, with the exception of border security, where fewer disapprove at 80%. Most Republicans are with Trump, but approval drops to 68% on inflation and 75% on the economy generally. Disapproval among independents ranges from roughly half on border security to three-quarters on inflation. When voters are asked about how they feel about Trump as a person, his ratings are underwater by 10 points. This is really not good for Donald Trump. We're going to wrap this up here. As mentioned above, most are concerned about inflation, 84%, including 78% of Republicans. So the top issue is inflation, and Trump is hella underwater on that. By a single point, the future of the U.S. narrowly tops inflation, as voters top concerned, with 85% saying they're worried about the direction of the country. So again, that's not good for Trump. That includes 8 in 10 Republicans, 9 in 10 Democrats, and independents. So this poll has triggered Donald Trump. Fox News, I got to say, I do not like Fox News overall as an institution, but I said this when the Fox News poll was against Biden and against Harris, and it doesn't change now that it's against Trump. They are just one of the most reputable pollsters in the country. Whether they're favoring Democrats or favoring Republicans in their results, their methodology is pretty accurate. They're a highly reputable pollster. Trump is just pissed that this particular Fox News poll doesn't give him the results that he wants, and that's why he's lashing out the way that he is. And this is what he will always do to Fox News and the Wall Street Journal anytime they put out a poll that he dislikes. Their praise of him previously, the fact that, again, Fox paid nearly $800 million to settle the biggest defamation case in the history of American politics. None of that matters to Trump. It's all out the window. His transactional sense of loyalty means that you have to prove every goddamn second of every goddamn day that you are 100% loyal to him. Otherwise, it is all for naught. And I'll also point out, I don't think Nate Silver has updated his Silver Bulletin. 538 is defunct. Nate Silver founded it. It was taken over by ABC. ABC bought it, and then they shut it down. I don't think it's been updated for the day, but he's added the polls, but he's not given like an updated synopsis. But Trump is hella underwater by 6 points. So it's not looking good for Trump, okay? Now, that could change. This guy, again, he bends political gravity in ways we've never seen a modern politician do. But right now, Donald Trump is objectively unpopular, and he's objectively failing, as far as the American people are concerned, on pretty much every area except border security. And even there, it's a squeaker. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.